Hello guys, welcome back. Now, good evening everyone. Now we are going to learn about the SQL commands and the constraints that are possible in the SQL. So here it is, the constraints in SQL. The constraints are the rules that we can apply on the type of the data in table. That is, we can specify the limit on the type of data that can be stored in a particular column in a table using the constraints. Now, did you understand this part? Okay, let me take few. These are the available constraints that are available in SQL. Now I'm going to explain each and every one of these. Not null, unique, primary key, foreign key, check, and default. Now constraints in SQL, not null constraint. This constraint tells that we cannot store a null value in a column. That is, if a column is specified as not null, then we will not be able to store null in this particular column anymore. Okay, and unique constraint. Now this constraint, when specified with the column, tells that all values in the column must be unique. That is, the values in any row or column must not be repeated. Okay, and primary key. A primary key is a field that which can uniquely identify each row in a table. And this constraint is used to specify a field in table as primary key. Okay, and foreign key. A foreign key is a field which can uniquely identify each row in another table, and this constraint is used to specify a field as a foreign key. Okay, and check constraint. This is used to validate the values of a column to meet a particular condition. It helps to ensure that the value stored in column meets a specific condition. And the default constraint. This constraint specifies a default value for the column where no value is specified by the user. Now, how to specify the constraints? Now, once this whole PPT is completed, then I'm going to show you how to write each constraint and what is its use, right? How to specify constraints. Now what are the constraints that we are going to do right now? All is about the columns. I mean, the data that has to be entered, right? About the data that has to be entered, we are going to write these constraints. So there should be some limits on what basis it should be done. Okay. So on what basis should the data that has to be evaluated, that the data has to be stored, that is about the constraints. So everything that we are going to these constraints is in either in create command, or we are going to alter the create command if that is not created. In this case, today I'm just going to create a new table. I'm not going to alter the old table. I'm going to create a new table and add these constraints whenever required, and also show you how each one is used. Okay. So below is the syntax that we are going to use. Okay. After creating a table, you can using alter table, you can do it. So here it is. So specifying the constraints, create table, sample underscore table, column 1. Now, yesterday I have told you now about this particular thing. Now this is a new thing. The constraint name should be written over here. Now there are two methods. Now I have written only one method over here. We can, for some things like primary key and foreign key, we can mention them below over here. See, something like primary key, we want the primary key as column 1. So I can mention the primary key constraint like this, or I can also write it as, here the constraint name, how I have written over here according to the syntax, I can write it as primary key. Okay, now about this is the two ways. Now not all the constraints can be written down below here. Now I'm going to show you now how it is actually done. So now the first coming to the not null constraint. Now what? Okay, now coming to the not null constraint. Now, for example, okay, you are a student. You are a student and now you want to register for a course using the from your college you want to register for a course. So whenever you're registering for a course, they'll take your roll number first. Why do people take your roll number? Now in engineering colleges it is very common to people taking their roll number and identifying you. Now in if you are a student, they'll whenever you are registering for a course or doing something new, they'll remember your roll number. Now the roll number consists of 4 things. The first 4 digits given to the code given to your college. Okay, the college code for the first 4 digits, and the second 2 digits is the year that you have joined in the college. And the third next 3 digits is the branch. For a branch, there will be a particular number. For every branch, there will be a particular number. For CS, this thing. For IT, this thing. For mechanical, this thing. For EC, this thing. For triple E, this thing. So there will be a 3-digit number. Okay, so branch number. So the branch number in 3 digits. So the branch number in 3 digits again. And your unique 3-digit roll number. Okay, now again coming here. Now the first, this is the 4 digits. Now this is the 2-digit thing. Okay, now this is 3 digits. Now I have already written here. Now this is the again 3-digit. Okay, now with all these things, any college you go, any other college you go, you'll be able to recognize. With the first 4 digits, you'll be able to recognize which college you are from. And with the next 2 digits, we are able to recognize the year that you have joined, and mostly the year that you have joined. For example, you have joined in 2020, you'll be able to recognize that if your roll number is if the second 2 digits here is 20, then if it is 2022 running, it means that you are in second year. If 2023 is running, then you are in third year. The academic years might be different, but in a similar format, we are able to recognize the year that you are in. And there are some exceptions. I'm going to say about that later. Now coming to the branch number, every branch is given a 3-digit number with R and your unique number. Okay. Now unique number can be any number. Now it might be just from 1 to 180 or something like that. From 1 to 180, and you will be given a roll number with that particular number. And whenever you are registering for a course, they'll give you a roll number so that you can identify that student. So why do we need to identify a student from all the students possible? Why is name not possible? Why do we need to give another number? So the answer to the question is, your name might be repeating. Your name might be same as your friends, and he might be in the same class. He might be in the same branch. So he obviously, if he's in the same class in the same branch, he's going to be in the same college. Now, if your name and the initial name are also matching with your friend, now how do you recognize these both people? Now, obviously, you cannot recognize people by faces. Right now, we are going to give a particular number so that we can identify that particular student. Now, in a table, we cannot have photos photos of the people to recognize these both people. So instead, we have given a number. In most of the cases, it is just a number. In some cases, it is an alphanumeric. Okay, or some so alphanumeric. So in those cases, the every tuple in the entity is every tuple in the entity has to be uniquely identified with a number or with an alphanumeric to identify that particular number, to identify that particular row. We are going to use it. That is nothing but a primary key. Okay. If we are going to, okay, now let me give you the terms. Now the first, the super key. Now, if you are able to recognize by a particular key, now here in the university database or in a college database, your roll number is able to recognize you. So that is nothing but the roll number. They can be able to recognize by the roll number. And after the super key, we are going to learn about the candidate key. Now the super keys can be many. Now coming to the candidate key is like this minimal super key is known as the candidate key. There can be one or more candidate keys and there can be one or more super keys too. Now there can be primary key. Now primary key is nothing but one of the candidate key is nothing but the super key. Okay. Now what is one of the candidate key? So now what is one of the candidate keys? So candidate key is so all these three things uniquely identify a row, uniquely identify a tuple. Now what is the difference between candidate key and a primary key? Now if this accepts null values, whereas the primary key does not accept the null values. It has to be unique and you cannot leave that column 0 or not 0. You cannot leave that column blank. Now accepting the null value. Now that is the first point that we have seen here. See, that is the first constraint that we are going to learn about. Now, according to some particular thing, I mean, I'm coming from the primary key. Now, okay, again, now primary key first give you the example. Then I'm going to go into the null value. Okay. Now, in an employee, in a student database, your roll number is the primary key over there. Okay, your roll number is the primary key. And in an employee database, it is the employee number, which is unique. Okay, which is unique from everyone else. And whenever you give your employee number, they will be able to recognize you. Okay, if an unknown person comes to the office and asks you what is your employee number, they will be able to recognize you and get your details from the database. Now that is about the employee number. Now, if it is in the student database, you want to pay your fees, then according to your roll number, we are going to pay the fees. So we can uniquely identify you that you have paid the fees. Okay, that is about the employee and the bank. Now in the bank database, now we are going to take your account number. Account number is 100% different from all others. The first few 3 or 4 digits say about the branch number that you have registered for, and in the same way the remaining digits will also be there. We call the first 4 digits as IFSC code, and this is about the bank database. Now it is same for every table, I mean every database. There will be some unique number to the customers that is 100% unique from all others. Now coming to the next part. Now in an Aadhaar card, it is your it is your unique identification code, the 12-digit number that will be giving to us. And if it is password, we will give the passport number. And if it is your vehicle, will give you the license plate number, which is different from all others. So in every table, in every database, I have given you 6 or 7 examples. In every database, there will be one unique thing so that they'll be able to recognize you. Okay. So that is about the primary key constraint. Now here, that is about the primary key. Now what is this primary key? Okay, sorry. We have 100% you have understood what about the primary key. Now what is this accepting the null values? Now let us take, you are opening a new Gmail, a new Google Mail account. So when you are giving a new Google Mail account, now don't write the username and click on submit. I mean, you are making a new user use it, and when you click on login or register, you are going to give the details of yourself like name, username, password, etc. For example, don't write username. So you'll get an error over there. Why do we get an error? It is one of the required fields. So why is it a required field? Because the username is the primary key over there. See, your name can be repeated. Your password can be repeated in some cases. Your password can be repeated. So something that is different from all others is nothing but the primary key over there. Now the primary key does not accept the null value. So it does not accept the null value means, so they are giving it as required field and not showing the error name, etc. So they're just going to show that it is a required field, so you need to fill this column. So some columns, and it should be as I said, username is the primary key over there, and it shouldn't be left null. It should you cannot leave it null. If you are leaving it blank, means that you are giving it a null value, which shouldn't be accepted by the computer, which shouldn't be accepted by the database. So it's going to show a constraint, not an error name. It is in here we are going to get an error that we cannot take the null values. That is about the null value. And now I'm going to show unique key is nothing but, see, it shows that it has to be the unique value from all others. Now primary key is also the unique, it should be unique. Now extra part is that it can identify a particular tuple, but in the unique key we cannot identify you. Okay, it's like first unique key with some more advantages. With some more advantages, we are going to have a primary key. Like unique key has some things. On that particular extending the unique key, we are going to use the primary key. Okay, unique key is also different from all others and does not accept null values. So primary key is an extra thing that we can able to identify the tuple in the table. Now, what is a foreign key? Now, I am going to give you an example to understand this foreign key. Now, let us assume, okay, now you have understood the student database, right? The 4 digits of your college code and these things. Now, for example, so there will be a table, branch number. There will be a table branch number. Okay, so branch number, so 7. So the branch, so the entities are, the columns are, the first thing is branch number, and the branch name. Okay, branch number and the branch name are the 2 columns. Now to understand, not like this, instead of writing like this, I'm going to give a space and write like this. Now let us assume this is table. Now how does this table look like? Branch number, there is 733, 3-digit code, and let us assume this is for mechanical. Okay, now let us take some other code, 734, and let us think this is for ECE. Okay, now let us take 737, and let us take it for IT. Now this is, let us assume this is the table and there are only 3 branches here. Okay, let me take one more. 735 as CSC. 735 as CSC. So this is the thing. Now this is the branch number and the branch name. Now we want to add a new student in the database. Okay, you want to add a new student. Let us assume everything is done by the hand. So the data has to be entered into the computer. So here, now a new student has to be done. So if, for example, if the student is from particular college, 16, I'm going to write it as X6. Okay, 16X6, and he's joined in 2020, so it is 20, the last 2 digits of the year, and then the branch. When he is writing the branch, when he is entering the details of the branch, that branch should be a part of these 4 things, right? Only these 4 things are available in the college, and none other than these 4 columns. There shouldn't be anything that should be possible. So I mean, here is another table. Okay, I have not mentioned it before. Here is another table where, for example, for a university is entering some data for its use for giving its certificates. So assume like that. So in the roll number of students, I mean, roll number is for students, right? So roll number, that is another table name. So the columns here are, the spelling is wrong. The columns here are first the college code, and then year that you have joined. So I've written it like this. Right? College code year, and the next column is year that you have joined, and the next column is the branch number that you are in. Your unique 3-digit number. Now these are the 4 columns that are available in the roll number table. Now college code 160, 16XX. Now coming to the year that you have joined, it shouldn't be left null. So I can't have it as a primary constraint. See, many students will have the same year that they have joined. So I cannot have it as a primary constraint, and it cannot have a unique constraint too. It should always be greater than 0. Now that constraint is check constraint that I'm going to say about next part. Now this shouldn't be left null. So I'm going to write a not null constraint over here. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you about, now let us assume the student has joined in the year 20. Okay, the branch number should always be a part of these 4 things that are available in the college. We cannot write 736 over here. 736 is not a part of the table. So when the person is entering the column, inserting the value in this particular roll number table, he should get an error when he is trying to enter 736. So we can add a constraint so that he does not enter the letter number 736. Is 736 branch present? No. So we can add a constraint that this branch number in the number that you are typing should always be a part of this branch number table in the branch number table. This branch number, the branch should be the table name. So in the branch table, it should be matched. This value should always be matching with one of the values of this. Okay, that is the idea. So we can add foreign key constraint. So every number in this particular thing should be a part of this thing, should be a part of this column in this table. That is nothing but the foreign key constraint. Now, what is this unique 3-digit number? Now, unique 3-digit number is the number that we can uniquely identify you. So it can be 001 to 180, assuming that there are 3 sections and each section has 60 students. We are going to give 0 to 180. Okay. Now, with these 4 things, we are going to recognize the student in the data. The grades will be given according to the roll number, the courses that you have registered, other than the normal courses that are present, everything that is going to be recognized with this college code here. Okay, in the same way, there are some particular codes. For example, if it is a license plate number, if it is you're in this particular state, if it is in Telangana state, for example, you are going to give it as TS. If it is Andhra Pradesh, you are going to give it as AP. So for every state, there has been given a particular digit. It can be an alphanumeric, for suppose, as I said the primary keys can be the alphanumerics. That means there can be alphabets as well as numericals. So alphabets is nothing but AP that I'm going to give you. Now AP 10 BH. Now there are some things that that has been added extra. So that is for uniquely identifying you. And next, coming to the next constraint, that is nothing but the check constraint. Now, as I said the check constraint. Now we can add for this particular column, we can add a check constraint. So the check constraint will not let it to have a null 0 value. See, now this is a number. We cannot. So I'm going to write it as check year that you have joined in college is always greater than 0. Okay. Now you might not understand now why I'm writing like this. Now in the next example, I'm going to tell you why is this useful. For example, if a person is a new customer to the bank account, now when he's trying to add account money for the first time, it shouldn't be as null. It should always be a minimum of 5,000. So minimum that should be always greater than or equal to 5,000. So in that particular constraint, we are going to use this check constraint. The check constraint might not be only that is greater than 0. It can be anything. It should always be greater than or equal to 5,000. In the bank case. Now there are hundreds of things that we can write in the check constraint. Okay. All of these, and coming to the default constraint. Now coming to the default constraint. Now, for example, this is the roll number, right? This is the whole roll number thing. Now, in this roll number, if he is entering the values of this, the same college, then the college code should be the same. The college code, okay, should be same for every person. So here, he doesn't need to enter the college code again and again for every student. So instead, he can write the college code as default value. Some default, obviously, we can give a default value to particular column. If we don't need to mention it every time we insert the values. So we can give an default value that will help us to not repetition of data. So if there is any exception, means he wants to suddenly use another college code, then you are going to say it about it. Again, we need to mention it. So instead of that, if we are going to give a default value, that default value will be considered. So that is about the constraints. Now we are going to see about the using an example, we are going to learn how these constraints work. Okay, now you're going to do the employee database. Now the employee database consists of the 2 tables, 2 entities. Now yesterday I have shown you 1 table. Now the second table also I'm going to show you. Now this is the first table that This is one other table. This is the EMP table. And this is the second table. This is nothing but the department table. The department table consists of 3 columns, 3 attributes to say: department number, department name, and the location. And this is the EMP table. Now we are going to see now how to use these tables. And I'm going to show you, have shown you without any constraints yesterday. Now I'm going to show you with using the constraints how we are going to limit the amount, how we are going to take the data, the constraints over here. So, okay. So these are all the constraints that we are going to look on. Now I'm going to show you the live SQL. And the first table that we're going to create is the department table. Now this is how I'm going to write it. Create table department. And the first column is department number, and it is a number of maximum of 2, and it is a, and we can write primary key in 2 ways. Either we can write the primary key here. I want the department number to the primary key. So as I've shown you in the PPT, you can write the primary key here. Else I'll show you the other way. As I've shown you previously, you can write it below. After writing about all the columns, you can write primary key in brackets. You can write the department number. I'm going to show you that too. Department number, the department name here, and which is a variable character. So varchar 2 of 20 characters, maximum of 20 characters, comma, and the location, that is nothing but loc varchar 2 of 20 characters again. Now I can write the primary constraint like this, or I can write it in another method as I've shown you before. I'm going to keep this in comments. I'm going to keep this in comments. Primary key department number, dep number. Okay, now this is how we are going to write. There is another method if you want to how to write this thing. Now I want to execute this thing. I want to create this table. Now this is the primary key constraint that we are going to see here. Now I'm going to run this. Table has been created. Now I'm going to show you the next table. Now the next table is nothing but the EMP table. This is the 2 ways how you can, in the fourth line you can see how to write. Now I'm going to show you how to create another table. Create table EMP. It has the attributes of EMP number. Okay, there shouldn't be space while you're naming it. EMP number, which is a number of maximum of 5 digits. And that is about the EMP number. Now ename. Ename is a varchar 2 of maximum of 20 characters. And third is your salary. Okay, now I didn't close the bracket here, that's a mistake. 20, and why did I write comma here? 20, and ename, and job. Job name is a varchar of maximum of 10, or yeah, you can write 10 characters. And then job, and then salary. Salary is always a number which is of maximum of 5 digits. So according to the data, I'm writing these things. Salary and commission. I'm going to write it as COWM, and which is a number of 5 characters again, 5 digits. And commission and department number. Department number. Okay, that is of number. maximum of 2 characters, maximum of 2 digits. And now I'm going to specify the primary key and the foreign key. Now try to understand here, and the other constraints too. Now this is the table I've shown you before. Now here I'm going to write the primary key as the EMP number of this table. In this table, the EMP number should be the primary key because it can uniquely identify from the table EMP, and it should be unique for every person in the for any employee. It should be unique, and if it is not unique, then there will be a problem, and it shouldn't be left as null. So here we are going to specify the primary key as the EMP number. And now I'm going to show you the foreign key constraint. The foreign key department number. The foreign key is the department number. So department number and references means to which column of which table it should be referred. So in the department table, again here the department number is nothing but DEPT number. So DEPT of DEPT number. So this is how you're going to write it. So I guess I have missed a bracket here. And the next thing is that, see, I want the job. The job shouldn't be left as null. So I'm going to write it here as not null constraint. And here the salary should always be greater than 0. There should be some amount. It shouldn't be equal to 0. It should always be a minimum of 5,000. So all these constraints I'm going to add here. So check constraint, check sal is always greater than 0. Or let me write it as 1,000. The minimum salary of any person is 1,000. So if the minimum salary is 1,000, then I'm going to write it as equal to 1,002. So greater than or equal to 1,000. If it's not, we are going to get an error. Now I can also write the other constraints such as default and unique here, but I'm not going to write. I'm going to now if there is only the department name should be unique from the others. See, I'm going to show you the table, and now you're going to understand now how it is going to vary. So here it is. So this is day 3, now day 2. See, the department name shouldn't be repeated. So I want this thing to be the unique constraint. Now I'm giving the unique constraint here. So exit the default constraint. I have shown you the all constraints here. So wait one second. So here for the department table, the department number is the primary key, and the department name is unique. It should be unique from all other rows, and I don't want with the department name to be identified, so I'm keeping only this as a primary key. And what you need to know is you can have more than one primary key. You can have more than one primary key, and if there are more than one primary key, the combination of them would be the primary key. Both of them would be considered, and if only both of them match, then there would be a problem. Only then we would be showing an error. So these are the two tables that we have shown here. And now again I'm showing you the bigger table, the EMP table, the one with the more columns. The EMP number, it is a number, that's right. And name is a varchar of maximum of 20 characters. Nothing is more than 20. And job is having a more 10 characters. Yes, I don't think anything is more of 20. It is more like 8 characters. So nothing is more than 8 or 9 characters. So 10, and it shouldn't be left as null. So not null constraint. And salary is always should be greater than 1,000. I have written, and there is one person less than 1,000, that is 950. So let me write it as, there is another person with salary 800. So the constraint over here is something different. So I shouldn't write it as 1,000. So let me write it as 800. So it should always be greater than or equal to 800. That is a check constraint. The check constraints only checks about the value, right? And next, coming to the commission number, I have written it maximum of 5 digits, yeah, 5 digits, that will be possible. And coming to the department number, it is maximum of 2 characters. Now, the foreign key. Now, there is an important point about to say about the foreign key is if I'm using the foreign key, the department number here, and I'm referencing the department number here in this table. When you're referencing, the table should already have to be created. So that is the reason. First, I've created this table, and then I've created this table, so that the computer can understand that I'm referencing to that particular table. So whichever the department number I'm going to write here when I'm inserting the value in this table, first the insertion should also take place in this particular table. So once the insertion is taking place, now then when I'm going to insert in this particular table, it will check whether the number in this particular column is matching with any number in this column. Only then we'll not get an error, else we'll get an error. So that is about the foreign key. And whenever we are using a foreign key constraint, we need to remember that particular column that we are referencing, means this column here, should always be the primary key. In the department table, the department number should be the primary key. So that is the reason I'm giving the primary key. See here also, see in the PPT also, the numbers, the department number should be the primary key, and it should be unique. You have understood from the data here, but in the same way, when you're giving constraints over here, that should be the primary key, only then this would work. And coming to the unique constraint, I have given you the unique constraint here. The department number shouldn't be matching. And the primary key is the MP number, and whichever you are referring it as the MP number, it should be unique from everyone else. So this is the MP primary key. And coming to the foreign key, the one you're referencing here as foreign key means in the table EMP, you don't need to keep this as foreign the primary key. That is one thing to remember. Many people will confuse that. Again, we need to keep this also as the foreign key, but primary key. Now again, to keep department number also as the primary key, that will be an error because the department number will repeat from person to person. See here also you can see there is more than one person from the same department. So the department number should be repeating, and it cannot be the primary key. So many people will confuse that it should be the primary key over here in this particular table. It shouldn't be the primary key in this table because it should be repeating. Okay, now that is clear. Now I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to show you about the default constraint. See, this table also has been created. There are 2 tables now. Okay, now I'm going to show you about the default constraint. Now, how does this differ? These are the 2 tables along with the constraints we have learned. Now I'm going to show you about the default constraint. Now, how does this default constraint works? Okay, now I'm going to show you with an example. So the default constraint is for example, now I'm going to take a table. Now the table is such that most of the people, okay, let's assume, yeah, now I'm sitting in an Aadhaar enrollment center. Now most of the people who come to my center are living in Hyderabad and not are from Telangana, in fact, are from Telangana and not from Andhra Pradesh, because only the local people apply here. So I'm going, and there are some people who come from Andhra Pradesh and apply it over here. So there will be some exceptions, but most of the people who come for the Aadhaar enrollment center here in my particular location is nothing but Telangana. So I'm going to keep the place that the new registration comes from, the default one, as the Telangana. And only if there is a change, I want to change the value. Only if the person comes from some other state. Here I have taken the example of Andhra Pradesh. Now it might be from any state, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, it might be from any state. So here I am going to write, I guess you have understood. I don't need to write anything in comments. Now I'm going to create a table. So now I'm going to write this as create table. Now I guess if you have practiced, you have understood how to write the create command, insert command, and select command. So create table. Now the table name is person. Okay, and now I want to write it as ID. I want some other ID to look as something as birth certificate, and it is an integer. Now if I write int, I will not mention the number of digits that are possible. See, if he gives a passport number or if he gives a PAN number, that the number of digits will be changing from person to person. So I don't want to give it as a number and make it as more characters. So instead I'm going to give it as an integer, and that shouldn't be left. So not null constraint. Okay, so as it's an int, I don't need to mention any number of characters or the number of digits. Now I'm going to write it as last name of varchar of maximum of 40 characters, or suppose. And the next I'm going to write it as first name. Okay, there shouldn't be name left, there shouldn't be space left here. Okay, let me write it as last name, and I don't want to see if there is a color change. 100% you need to change the names. Okay, see, before here I was going to write it like this, but if this varchar color is same as that of the last name color, it means this is some sort of keyword in the SQL. So you need to change the name. See here, when I write the word person, the color didn't change. Only the key as of the other compiler change with the keywords. Here also the color changes. So here, if I write it like this, there would be a problem. And always when you're mentioning these things, the names in something else like this, you shouldn't be giving any space. There shouldn't be any space left. So first name, the first name should also be a character of varchar 2. Okay, I need to write varchar 2. I forgot here. Varchar 2. Okay, varchar 2 of maximum 40 characters here too. And age, an integer. And the next, the main important one which I'm trying to stress here is city varchar, or city or state. In fact, let me write state here as a city about the state. This varchar of maximum of 40. Okay, there is nothing more than 40 characters, so I'm going to write it as 40 here, and the default value should be, okay, there shouldn't be any brackets here, that's my mistake. Now I'm going to write it as Telangana. Okay, now I'm going to run this. Okay, there's a problem here. So there's an error here which I need to correct. Yeah. Did I not complete any parenthesis? I completed this, this one, yes. Yeah, let me write this first, oops. ID not null. Yes, once again, let me run it. Okay, I'm still missing something. Okay, I think I missed a comma here. That might be the mistake. See, the table has been created. Now how we are going to use it? See, now I have shown you how to insert the values yesterday. So now we can write the insert value in two ways. Yesterday, what I've shown you is one way by writing like this: insert into the table name. The table name is, for example, here is person, and I'm going to write values here, values and ID number, etc., etc. I'm going to give you. Okay, something I'll write here. Okay, the ID name 4005, for example, 4006. First name, let me write it as last name first. So last name is, as it is a string, I'm going to write it as Ram, and first name is, let me write it as Sri Ram, and now I'm going to age is, let me be 24, and the state varchar, that is varchar, so I'm going to give it as Telangana. So if you are going to mention all of them, we can write it like this. So as we are using default thing, we don't need to write it like this. So instead of writing every time that a person belongs here, I'm going to write it like this. So it is a provision given by the MySQL. So insert into values. Now I'm going to write the same thing as that was in comments. I can write the same thing here. So comment was the last name, and then let my age be 24, okay, 25, and now the second method I'm going to show you. Now I don't need to mention the word Telangana here. Now I'm going to say that inside the table name. After the table name, I'm going to write all the values that I'm ID, last name. Instead of writing, I'm going to copy and paste. Last name, first name, age, and the last thing is state. So I'm not going to write state because the state has a default value. Now I'm going to insert this value, and I'm going to show you how this works. Run. So once it executes, I'm going to tell you, because we have written a default value over here, we don't need to write the particular column here. We don't need to write even if we are writing everything, we can write the format of we can write the format as name, age, and then state also we can write and mention the state. Now, as we had written the default value, this is the way it needs to be written. And if we did not write the default value, we are going to say again, we are going to write here state, and now we are going to write the state. I mean, if it's other than Telangana, now I'm going to write it as Andhra Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh or something like that. So that is how it is being written. Now, I guess there's something wrong here. So that is how we need to write, and I have completed. So the error has been occurred. Now I guess again I need to rerun the session. This is a very common error. Many times you'll get it. There will be something wrong as it is live SQL. You need to copy all this. Just okay. Control A, Control C. So I have copied it. I'm just going to rerun it. Okay, that's some problem. Now I'm going to try it live SQL again. Okay, that is how you need to write it. I guess you have understood. If you have not understood, just rewind the video or type in the comments if you're doubt, and I'm going to clear it and show it to you in the next video. Thank you, everyone. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to edspread. That's it for today, guys. Let's meet tomorrow again. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to fill the attendance form, which is posted in the chat box and even in the description. Join all the groups that are all the links that are in the description below. Thank you.